Well, it's good to have you all here today. It's good to see you. And we'll go ahead and get started here. It looks like we're right on time, so we'll go ahead and get started. So I am really glad that you're here today. And for the next half hour or so, we're just going to talk about one of the most extraordinary destinations on Earth, the Norwegian Fjords, and what separates a beautiful journey there from one that stays with you for the rest of your life. And there's a real difference between those two. And I hope that by the end of our time today, you'll know exactly what that is. If you've ever looked at photos of Norway and wondered what it would actually feel like to stand there yourself, then you're in the right place. But first, let me tell you a little bit about who I am and how I ended up here today talking to you about the fjords. So, my name is Amanda Cummings, and I'm a certified travel advisor through the Travel Institute, and I'm the founder of Grandvoya Travel. Before any of that, I spent most of my adult life as a professional chef, and I've also served in the Army National Guard since 2013. So the 16-hour days on my feet in a commercial kitchen and then drills on the weekend, I genuinely loved doing both of those things, but my body was telling me something that I don't think my schedule was ready to hear yet. And I had no idea what the next chapter would look like for me. I just knew that something had to change. And around that time, I took a trip to a luxury all-inclusive resort in Mexico, and something in me just came alive. And I was sitting on the beach one evening. I was watching the sunset go down behind the cliffs that were like all around me. And I was thinking about everything that had brought me to that exact moment, the career, the service, and the exhaustion that I've been carrying for years without ever really naming it out loud. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt something other than tired. And I just fell in love with that trip. It was the landscape that did it first, and the people, the nature, but the culture all around me. And then on top of that was the experience of being taken care of at that level, not having to think about a single detail. I remember thinking, if a place can make me feel this alive, I went to spend my life helping other people find that feeling wherever it may be for them. It may not be Mexico. But that's the moment that this stopped being about a vacation for me and it really started being about a life. And that feeling stayed with me long after I got home. And eventually it turned into something real. I realized that I could build a career around giving other people that exact feeling while building the kind of life that I wanted for myself too. So today, I specialize in luxury ocean voyages and privately curated land experiences. And I've had the chance to guide clients to some of the most extraordinary destinations in the world. The Norwegian fjords hold a particular place in that work. And that's exactly why I chose this destination for today's topic. So let's talk about why this destination is worth getting right. The Norwegian fjords are unlike anywhere else that I've sent a client. The cliff walls that drop straight into the water, the glaciers that move so slowly that you can't even actually see it happening, and waterfalls just falling hundreds of feet into the water, and the water that's almost always still. Clients come back and tell me the silence is what stayed with them the most. Standing on the deck, hearing a waterfall from a mile away before you ever see it, because there's nothing else competing with that sound. The water's so calm that it reflects the cliffs above it almost perfectly. It's a landscape that rewards the traveler who approaches it the right way. And in my experience, it's misunderstood more often than almost anywhere else, even by people who've traveled extensively. And that's what today is about. We're going to try to change that. Before we get into the mistakes, I do want to be upfront about the level of experience that we're talking about. These are all inclusive voyages aboard Silver Sea, one of the most decorated luxury cruise lines in the world. And a Norwegian Fjords voyage aboard Silver Sea starts at $7,850 per person for a 10-night voyage, and that's fully all inclusive. These journeys are designed for the traveler who values extraordinary over economical. These include butler service, wine and spirits, gratuities, Wi-Fi. All of it is built into that number. So you're not going to be nickel and dimed for things once you're on board. If that level feels right for you, then you're exactly where you need to be today. So let's get into the 5 mistakes that separate a good fjords journey from an extraordinary one. The first mistake is the one that I see the most often. And honestly, it's completely understandable. Most people plan around their calendar, and I do it too. You know, we all look for a window that works with our job, our family, and then we check the flights and we book Norway around those dates. And for most destinations, that's a perfectly fine way to do it. But the fjords aren't most destinations. Norway sits far enough north that the difference between the right week and the wrong week isn't subtle. It's 18 hours of daylight versus 6, or the waterfalls running full from the melted snow versus barely a trickle, and mild evenings out on deck versus conditions that will push everybody back inside. I had a client a couple of years ago who almost booked in early May to save a bit on airfare, and we talked it through. And she ended up shifting to late June instead. And she still tells me that she's grateful she made that switch because everything I described to her about long evenings on deck and waterfalls running full, she actually got to see for herself. It was the same ship, the same itinerary on paper, but a completely different trip than the one that she almost booked. So, booking in the wrong window, you know, you can spend the same money, sail the same waters, and still come home with a different trip than the one you pictured for yourself. Luxury travelers actually do the opposite. They let the destination dictate the calendar and not the other way around. Let me show you why that matters so much here. The fjords have a specific window where the conditions are genuinely at their best. Like I mentioned, the longer daylight with more dramatic light in the evenings, the waterfalls running full from the snowmelt above. And just imagine standing on the deck of your ship at 9 at night with the sun still sitting just above the horizon, the fjord walls rising on either side of you while the water is completely flat and still. That's what becomes possible when you plan around the destination instead of squeezing it into whatever week happens to be on your calendar. You're making sure that the fjords show up at their best moment when you arrive. And that shift in thinking, the destination first and then the calendar second, that's really the first step toward an extraordinary journey instead of just a good one. And once you've got the timing right, the next decision matters just as much. The second mistake catches people off guard every time I bring it up. Most travelers assume that a bigger ship automatically means a better trip. It comes with more amenities, more dining options, more of everything, right? But the Norwegian fjords have some of the narrowest, most dramatic waterways anywhere in the world, and only smaller ships can actually get into those. On a large mainstream vessel, you're restricted to the wider commercial corridors. You'll see the fjords from a distance, but you'll never really feel them. And when those bigger ships dock, you've got hundreds, sometimes thousands of passengers pouring into the same small port at the same time. Imagine yourself standing in a line of a few hundred people just to board a tender boat so you can reach a dock where thousands of other passengers from other large ships are all disembarking at the same time to get to the same shore excursion activities. That's not the fjords. That's like a parking lot with a nice view. A smaller vessel changes the entire equation. And I'm talking about somewhere between 100 and 274 guests total, not thousands. Fewer guests means a more personal experience from the moment you arrive to board at the port. And the access itself is in a completely different category. Silversea actually built their expedition fleet specifically for this kind of access. They have small enough ships to go where the real drama actually lives. I've had clients describe the cliff walls as close enough to feel like you could actually reach out and touch them, with the waterfalls right there beside the ship, close enough that you can feel the mist on your face from the deck. That's the version of this trip that most travelers never know exists. And if that's shifting how you're picturing this whole experience, then go ahead and drop a quick yes in the chat, because I would really like to know if that's landing for you the way it lands for my clients. Great. Yes, absolutely. Okay, the third mistake comes from how Norway tends to get marketed, really. The cities get nearly all of the attention. Bergen is lovely and Oslo is worth a day's visit. But if most of your time is spent there, you're missing the actual soul of this destination. I ask my clients after they get home what they remember most about their fjords journey, and nobody ever has said the city center. Not once. It's always the water. It's the morning that they woke up sailing into a fjord that they've never heard of before, narrow enough that the cliffs on either side seem to lean in over the water. And it's the afternoon spent on deck in complete silence, just watching a glacier do what glaciers do. And the evening, someone heard a waterfall before they ever laid eyes on it, the sound carrying across the water before it was even in sight. The itinerary has to be built around the passages between the ports, not around the ports themselves. And that's the takeaway here. The scenery doesn't happen in port. It happens in transit between the stops, in those narrow waterways, in the quiet of a fjord at golden hour with nothing around you for miles. The ports are the supporting cast, but the water's the main event every time. And once that clicks, the next question becomes just as important. What do you actually do in the moments that you step ashore? And that's our next mistake. The fourth mistake happens in how shore experiences get planned. Most travelers look at the list of excursions and then they pick whatever sounds interesting in the moment. But what they don't realize is that the right cruise line has already done that thinking for them at a level that most people never get to experience when they're planning it on their own. Silver Sea actually curates their shore experiences with the same attention they put into everything else on board. Real thought into who you are and what you actually want to feel. I had a client tell me once that a single afternoon ashore in Norway turned into one of the most meaningful parts of her entire trip. And it wasn't really about what she saw, it was about how well it was matched to her specifically. And that's the real difference between a shore excursion that you check off of a list and one that actually deepens your connection to the destination. And that's the difference between standing at a viewpoint with 100 other people, all reaching for the same photo, and finding yourself somewhere quiet that feels like it was built exactly for who you are. And that kind of matching is exactly what I talk through with my clients in a personal consultation. And honestly, it's one of my favorite parts of planning a trip like this. So let me share the fifth and final mistake, because this one ties everything else together. The fifth mistake is the one that makes all of the others possible in the first place. Planning the entire journey without anyone guiding you through it. Most travelers research online, they read through reviews, they book through a general travel site and piece together an itinerary that looks good on paper. And often it is good, but good isn't really why you're here today. Maybe you've traveled extensively already, and maybe you've planned trips all over the world yourself and you've planned them well. This isn't about whether you're capable of that, because you clearly are. But here's what I've come to believe after doing this for a while. There are two versions of a Norwegian fjords journey. Most travelers only ever experience the first one, not because they couldn't afford the second, and not because they didn't care enough to look for it. It's because they didn't have someone in their corner who knew exactly where to look. This isn't a trip that most people take 5 times. For most people, this is once in a lifetime, which means there's no version of this where good is good enough for you. The second version is built around everything that we talked about today: the right window, the right ship, the right balance of water over port and shore experiences designed specifically for you, not just around a generic list. That version doesn't come from a search engine. It comes from a relationship with someone who knows this destination, who knows Silver Sea inside and out, and just as importantly, knows you and what's important to you in your journey. And that's exactly what I do at Grandvoya Travel. I'd love to help you find your version of it. But before we move into questions and answers, I'm curious of the 5 mistakes that we talked about today, which one of them stayed with you and kind of gave you that aha moment? You can go ahead and drop it in the chat. I'd love to know which one spoke to you the most out of the 5 mistakes. If anything that we have talked about today resonates and the fjords are on your radar at all, I would love to be the person that you have that conversation with. A personal consultation. Oh, you list them again quickly? Booking on a ship with thousands of other people. Yes, that's that's definitely one. Here, I can run through these again real quickly. Go back to the first one. Planning around your own calendar, right? You need to plan around the destination. And then the ship size, how bigger ship isn't always better. For these fjords, you want to be on a smaller ship to get into the narrowest waterways. Number 3, the city. The way that Norway is marketed is usually the cities, but the moments happen on the water. And then the shore experience question that nobody asks, which is how to get an experience curated to you and not just from a list. And then the 2 versions of Norway, planning without someone guiding you through the whole thing. Okay, those were the 5. But if anything did resonate with you and the fjords are on your radar at all, I'd love to be the person that you have a consultation with. It's a real conversation where we just talk through your vision and your timeline and what the right experience actually looks like for you specifically. You can book a one-on-one call with me directly through this link on your screen. And I'll have a QR code up in just this moment as well. If you don't find a time on my calendar that works for you, go ahead and shoot me an email or message and we'll work something out. I'll put my contact information up here. And I do just want to thank you so much for being here today. It's genuinely been a pleasure spending this time with you. And I hope our conversation gave you a clear picture of what an extraordinary fjords journey can look like, and maybe a different way of thinking about a few things that you hadn't even considered before. My contact information is here on the screen, and the QR code for booking a consultation is right here if you'd like all of that. And then now we'll go ahead and open things up for questions. I know that you probably have some things on your mind and questions come up during all of the things that we talked about today. So you can go ahead and type your questions in the chat. And I see a few are already in here. So let me just go ahead, see what we've got here, and we'll answer as many as we have time for. Yes, yeah, you already won't travel on a large ship, Victoria. Yeah, that's something that it's important to a lot of people to make sure that the size matches too, because from the moment that you arrive in port, you're already combating thousands of other people when you're on a large ocean liner or something like that. So these smaller ships, it's really, really a much better experience. The time of year. Yes, the best time of year to see the Norwegian fjords is going to be in that May through July window when the daylight runs the longest and the conditions are the mildest. They're so far north, like Norway's far northern latitude means that late June can offer close to around the clock daylight. And in parts of the country, and the waterfalls are running at their fullest and things like that. The temperature is going to be in the 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit around that time. And a lot of these journeys are only offered during those summer months, actually. So especially Silver Sea. With a luxury trip like that, they're going to plan a lot more meticulously on things, and they only will offer these journeys in the best months to do it. Sometimes they do open up in like May, so you want to kind of wait and maybe book that out into like June. So, kind of keep an eye on it, but it's really only available in the summer. Let's see. Best time to see the Northern Lights, and also does Silver Sea support solos? So the Northern Lights aren't something that you're probably going to be able to see in a Norwegian Fjords journey. This is something that people, I think that this gets marketed a little bit where you can kind of see the Northern Lights in some of the photos. And so it makes people think that that's something that you can do. Is the Northern Lights viewing requires a late autumn through winter and a really far northern latitude, right? So it's a completely different season and itinerary than the May to July fjord sailing windows that we're talking about. So we would have to get on a different itinerary or something like that. But the fjords and the Northern Lights at the same time, that's really difficult. Oh, and as far as solos, they do support solos. There is a solo supplement, like they have a different fee for it, so it would likely be more than the 7,850 starting point. It would come in at a different rate, but that's something that we could talk about on a personal consultation. How far ahead would you have to book? So I will say, Mary, that price of the starting price of the 7,850 is already, that's the lowest category suite that they offer. And all of the sailings for this current year, 2026, are already booked up on that one. So it looks like they're already booking up into higher suite categories. So if you wanted to sail on Silver Sea to see the fjords this year, it would be at a higher starting point because you would have to book one of those mid suites instead of the starting at price and the lowest category. So they do still have some availability on sailings for this summer. I know that they have at least around 2 to 3 categories, suite categories left on each of the sailings for this year. It's best to try to book these out about a year in advance. Because you're going to be able to get the best pricing and have your choice of the suites and things like that. They have some available for next year already in 2027, so that's a good time to start looking at that. And then we can get like the flights and things like that added in as soon as the flight schedules come out. And Mary, have I been on this cruise? No, I have not. I have sent people on this cruise, but I've actually not been to the Norwegian fjords. So it's on my radar. It's on my bucket list. So, right. Was that all of the questions? I think that looks like it was. Did I answer everyone's questions? Do you have any other questions that maybe I didn't touch on? Is air included in the price? So Silversea actually restructured its pricing. And so right now, air is not included in the base price, but you can choose an option where it is included. So it depends on whether you want the luxury or the ultra luxury. So that's something that can be included. And if you do add in airfare, or let's say you add like a pre-night hotel or a post-cruise hotel night, they're going to add in transfers for you that's included in the pricing. So that's something that you can certainly choose, but it's not included in the price at the starting rate. No. And then what is the deposit? So that's going to vary. The deposit is going to vary based on which suite you choose, which itinerary you choose, and the sailing dates and all of that. So they do have a deposit and then like a final date. So they are offered on a payment plan unless you're traveling like within a 60-day time frame, then it would need to be paid in full. So that's something that you can definitely talk to me about in a consultation where we kind of pair you to the right itinerary and get everything all set up. And then we can see what the exact deposit is going to be for your trip specifically. Where do you fly to join the cruise? This is a great question. So a lot of places, you're not really going to fly into Norway to get on the cruise, right? Most of these cruises are going to leave from other areas. So it's going to be like some of them leave out of Southampton. They're going to be other European locations. So most times you're going to fly into somewhere else. Like if it was coming out of Southampton, then you would probably fly into London and then get on the ship in Southampton and then cruise the fjords. And then usually they end in the same starting point. Some are Copenhagen to Copenhagen round trip. Some start in Copenhagen and somewhere else. So they're all going to be a little bit different. But yes, the flights would be to wherever the starting point, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Southampton, places like that. Silversea does have a loyalty program, and I can certainly, if you already have a loyalty number with them, I can apply that to your cruise and you can earn the loyalty rewards on there. And if you don't currently have one, then when you do your first cruise with them, you will start earning their rewards. What do my customers say about Silversea? They absolutely love it. They love Silver Seas. It obviously is geared towards luxury travelers. So you're not going to see a lot of people in casual outfits and stuff. They do have a dress code. They did just update their dress code, actually, and I was just talking to them about that the other day. And they are now allowing people to wear jeans on their ships. Not anything with like holes or tears and that kind of stuff, but nice jeans can be worn on their ships now. So if that feels like the right kind of luxury style for you, then I think that you're going to love it. Yes, these trips do go to those port locations. So you're going to see the Yay Ringer, and I'm really bad at pronouncing these. I know how to do it, but just bear with me. I don't speak the language. And so yes, they do. Most of those ports are going to be included. There's going to be a lot of the different ports and things like that, which we compare to you in a consultation, because each itinerary hits slightly different ports and things like that. And whichever ones are most important to you, then that's how I pair that to you. Do you have set times and table seatings for meals? So they will open up after you've booked your cruise. Silversea opens up a portal where you can actually go in and make your dining reservations. You get to choose the restaurants you want to dine in on which nights and choose your times. And so you will already have those dining reservations made before you ever get on the ship. Does that answer your questions? How does Silversea compare to Explora? Silver Seas operates Silver Seas is a higher luxury than Explora journeys. I definitely would say that you're going to be in more of a luxury style atmosphere. Everything's taken care of for you. Silver Sea actually has typically a 1-to-1 ratio of crew to guest. Okay, so that means that like they have so many more people there to take care of you. Explora, it's not exactly in the same category as far as that goes. So um stuffy, I would say stuffy. No, like I said, there is a dress code, so it's something that like people who go on Silversea, they want to be taken care of, right? They want the butler service, they want the 1-to-1 crew to guest ratio, the personalized one-on-one service, the curated shore experiences, those kind of things. I would not say that it's stuffy. Most of the clientele that goes on these cruises is very down to earth, very kind, generous, nice people. So I wouldn't consider it stuffy. No, I would not. But then again, I can't guarantee that if we get you on a ship where a bunch of people, all go on there and you feel like it's a stuffy atmosphere, I can't control who else is going to be on the ship at the same time. But in general, most of the people are very kind and very easy to get along with. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Any other questions that I didn't answer so far? All right, well, I guess I will go ahead and close this out if you guys feel like you've had your questions answered. And if you would like to book a call with me, hopefully you saved my contact information from the screen. Of course, you're welcome. And thank you so much for being here today. And I hope that you are able to plan a great fjords journey, and let me know if you would like any assistance with that. Thank you, everyone. You have a great day.